Hello everyone, I'm Matt Little and we're going to talk about shooting on the move. Now, shooting on the move is one of those things that people think of as an advanced skill, but it's actually a pretty fundamental skill to being able to shoot well, both either in a tactical context or in a competitive context. But there's some things we want to think about. If I'm doing this in a tactical context, I have to have an important enough reason to leave a position of relative safety and expose myself to gunfire to move to another position of relative safety. There has to be an important reason for me to get there. So the way this is commonly taught, where the shooting is a higher priority than the movement, so the movement is done very slowly and deliberately, isn't really effective in that context because I'm not making myself a more difficult target to my opponent, and I'm not increasing my speed at which I get to where I need to be. I'm not saying that accuracy is unimportant. It is not. You need to get your hits. But when I train this, I want to prioritize the movement speed element of it over prioritizing the accuracy to the point where I'm not moving with a sense of purpose, right? I have to move from there to there with a sense of purpose. I have to get there. Now, if I'm a competitor at a match, the only reason shooting on the move is viable for me is that it lowers the time it takes me to shoot the stage. So if my movement is so slow in order to get accurate, good, solid hits on target, that I'm not lowering the time of my match, my stage in the match, I'm not giving myself any benefit from shooting on the move. I'd be better off just standing there shooting the targets than running over there and shooting the targets. So I've got to learn to move efficiently and rapidly while still having sights that are stable enough to get good effective hits. Now, some things on the technique of this. So people tend to overthink their technique for shooting on the move, right? We've all been walking a pretty long time by the time we're adults. We should be pretty much experts at walking smoothly. All you have to do is put a little bit of additional bend in the knees and hips in order to be able to kind of act like shock absorbers on the ground, right? And that's like your overall suspension system. Then the rest of what I do is I allow all these joints to be relaxed so that my sights are fairly stable even while I'm moving with a sense of purpose. A good analogy for this is drinking a cup of coffee on your way into work in the morning in your car, right? When you go over the railroad tracks, what does everybody do? They pick up the cup of coffee so it doesn't spill. Well, why do I do this? I do this because I can use all of these joints subconsciously to make up for the movement the vehicle has going over those railroad tracks, right? So when you're shooting on the move, think of your lower body as like the suspension in your car, and then your upper body fine-tunes it and keeps those sights nice and stable, all right? What I don't have to do is the old school SWAT or SF Groucho Marx walk, right? Where I take these little bitty short steps and I lock out my upper body and make it very rigid like a tank turret. I'm not moving with a sense of purpose that way. I need to move rapidly while still getting good hits on target. So I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna go ahead and go live, and I'm gonna show you guys how we do it. All right, so the way we set this drill up has some nuances as well. And this is kind of an important thing because you need to think about this every time you set up any sort of drill for your training. The whole purpose of the drill is to elicit a training effect that you want, right? You're focused on one aspect of your shooting ability. In this case, the ability to move rapidly while still being stable enough to get effective hits. So I want to set up the drill to force myself to do it the way I need to do it to get better. And the way I did this is I have a target on the outside of this barricade that I'm going to shoot from the outside. I have a target on the outside of that barricade. I'm going to shoot from the far outside of that barricade. Those targets aren't shooting on the move. Those targets exist to force the movement. If I didn't have that far target, everybody would shoot the four in between by about the time they got to here, and they wouldn't have gotten the training value because it wouldn't be moving rapidly enough, okay? So I put the outer targets in there to force more aggressive movement. I'm also shooting these targets from left to right as I move from left to right. If this was actual application of my shooting, that would be reversed. I would shoot the first target I see, which would be the right target. The reason I'm doing it left to right is for the same reason as the outer targets. It forces me to move more rapidly and a further distance. So the way I set these things up is intentional, and the way you set up your drill should be intentional as well. All right, here we go. We're going to do it live. All right, guys, so shooting on the move. Hope everybody got something valuable out of this. Work this in your own training. It will help your skills. And I'll see you all next time.